Okay, good. And we can go ahead and begin. So we're going to be fairly quick with our class today. I can see folks aren't even turning their cameras on. And so you don't seem very interested in this. And frankly, I have to do this class meeting. So however we get through, we get through it. But just going ahead, hi, everybody. Just going ahead and taking a look at how we have e-learning set up for the class. And I know I had sent the meeting link in here. When we have our second meeting, though, you can click here in e-learning to get to this Zoom meeting that obviously you have found if you're here. Where I'm going to focus is on the syllabus, okay, today, and then have you see how e-learning is set up so you can find the various important things. So one, you can see here the office hour Zoom link. That's tomorrow, 10 to 11:30. It's like an office hour, so I'll probably have a waiting room. So if you come and it says, hey, you're in the waiting room, just wait. That means somebody else beats you to it, and I'm dealing with them, and then we'll move on to the next person. Okay, some other resources, etc. here. And then the big thing being the syllabus. And that's a little confusing because then I have another heading here called syllabus, but you can see the syllabus is right there, and I'm going to go through that with you today. Exams, there'll be 3 midterms, midterm 1, there'll be midterm 2, and then there'll be the final, and I'm going to go through that. It is sort of like a third midterm, though, and we'll see how that's going to work. You can sort of go ahead and open those up. For some reason, e-learning closes them. But the way you'll go through the class is you'll watch the lectures. I have lecture per chapter along with the slides, and embedded in the slides are practice questions that'll be very similar to the actual midterm itself. So I take the weightlifting approach as we go through. We talk about some of the concepts. Maybe when we first talk about them, we're a little weak with them, but we practice with some practice exam questions. And then as we get closer to the exams themselves, you see there are also practice midterms and practice midterm lectures. Okay, so when you go through, you'll get another round of questions to practice that are very similar to the ones that you'll get on the midterm. And then finally, you work the actual midterm, and I'm going to give you the dates and times. Well, actually, you can see it right here. I might as well talk about that now. The midterms, what I do, for example, with midterm 1, I open them on the Sunday of the week that they're scheduled. In this first example, Sunday, October 8th, and it stays open an entire week for 7 days. It closes at 11:59 p.m. That's at night on October 14th. That's the Saturday. You pick a 3-hour period within that week as to when you want to take the exam. So you can take it, you could take it at 12 a.m. midnight. I doubt you would on Sunday. Or you could wait until maybe Friday to take it or something like that, whatever works for your schedule. Please, guys, do not wait until 10 o'clock on Saturday night and say, oh, okay, let me bust through this thing. Don't do that. Okay, give yourself ample, reasonable time. The exams are 20 multiple choice questions, and then one objective sort of format question, probably matching or something like that, in which there'll be maybe 4 or 5 elements that'll be worth 4 or 5 points each. So each multiple choice question is worth 40 points, 20 of those, that's 80 points, and then 20 points. And it's broken into 4 or 5 pieces where you can get 4 or 5 points per item on the objective that's all talking about one particular subject. Kind of similar to the way the CPA exam is set up, where there's multiple choice questions, and then there's sort of a task-based simulation type thing. That's the way I've set up your exams, okay? 3 hours is lots of time to do what I'm asking you to do. So I would think you should be under real no time pressure to finish the exam within the allotted time, okay? Here's where students and I have a car wreck. This is where all of a sudden I'm the mean guy that has to, sit here and be, Judge Judy or whoever, there got to be somebody mean that nobody likes. And that's when students don't take the exam within this time frame. And they come to me and they say, I forgot to take the exam. To me, that's kind of like telling the IRS that you forgot to pay your taxes and expecting them to accept that as a, reasonable excuse for not paying your taxes. I'm not cool with forgetting. I'm not that cool guy. I'll help you in any other way I can to help you get a good grade in this exam, except reopening the exam for you because you didn't pay attention to the dates that are clearly listed here and the way the exam's going to work. Okay, so save me that amount of frustration. I'm getting older. This heart only has so many more beats of frustration left, I think. Okay, so let's not use those up. If you don't mind, let's save those for other things. And, go ahead and just note the times. They're clearly printed on the syllabus as to when the exams need to be taken. Okay. Any question on that? I know I'm kind of jumping quickly to the exams here, but since it sort of came up here, I figured I'd go ahead and talk about it. Okay. And then you can see the chapters by chapters. So let me open the syllabus and you see where the syllabus was. And fortunately, I didn't put it under the heading syllabus, but it's right here near the top. Okay. So that's where you'll find it. I guess I can move that later, put it under syllabus, but that's where it is. Okay. You can see it right there. I'm going to open it from my desktop because I get tired of downloading the same thing over and over and over and over again. My computer is probably slow because I have like 52 of the same files open in my download folder, but I'm going to take it from here so I don't have to download it. Okay, and so the way they set this course up, it is a combination of Zoom meetings and online. We have 2 Zoom synchronous meetings. They'll start at 5 o'clock, the one today, and another one on November 15th. Okay. I like this first one because it gives me a chance just to talk to you about the way the course is structured and saves me, with a lot of confusion with students. Well, how does this work? How does that work? The other one, we'll probably do a quick check-in. I'm not a big fan of these synchronous classes when you've signed up for an asynchronous class, but I guess it's good in that it does give us a chance to kind of have a dialogue about questions you may have and whatnot. And so we'll have another one on November 15th. Okay, so make sure you're attending those dates. I'm kind of forgiving this one because I changed it at the last minute on folks and they maybe had something else going, but the November 15th one, I'm going to be looking a little more closely to make sure everybody that's supposed to be here is here. Okay, you can see my phone number, you can see my email, you can see the office hour. You saw the link in Canvas. You are more than welcome to text me, call me, email me. Okay, the text number is that 510 number. Okay. Course description. This is an auditing course. What we're going to be doing in this class is understanding what a third-party auditor, an independent auditor, does once a client, a company, has prepared a set of financial statements. So if you've been in, introductory 100A, 100B, you've really been sitting, whether you realize it or not, in the seat of the preparer of the financial statements. What we're going to be looking at in this class is, well, now I'm the auditor. I'm taking those financial statements and I'm looking to see that the client has followed the standards that you've learned about in accounting 100A, 100B, et cetera. Okay, so it's a different approach. It's looking at a set of financial statements and saying, well, yeah, they listed assets, they listed cash, they listed inventory. How do I know they really have that cash? How do I know they really have that inventory? How do I know that inventory is valued correctly? How do I know that they don't have a lien against their building? All of these different things that we're looking at to see if the financial statements were fairly presented. That's what we're doing in this class. So we're really putting ourselves in more of I don't want to say investigative, because investigative implies that there's some accusation or something that we're looking at, but we really are more in a mode of looking at it. We're a fact finder. We are putting ourselves in a position where we can issue an opinion, and our opinion means something as auditors because we're independent from the company. And if you're going to be an auditor, you're licensed by the state to give that opinion and render that opinion. And when users of financial statements, investors and creditors, banks, stocks, potential stock purchasers and whatnot, see that opinion, they know that they can rely on those financial statements for making that investment and credit decision. Okay, and you need to be licensed by the state to do that. And all 50 states will license CPAs. I am a California CPA. California CPA is equivalent to a CPA in any of the other 49 states. Okay. Okay, good. So that's a little bit about what the course is about and some of the objectives of the course. The course textbook is optional. The course textbook is optional. It is optional. It is optional. Course textbook is optional. And I always repeat things in nauseam because if I say it once, I'll get 15 questions. They'll say, is the textbook required or optional? It is optional. Okay. Now, what you can do is open this URL. I'm not going to do it here now. You can open this URL and paste it into your browser. And there is a 2-week trial period. So I recommend you take advantage of the 2-week free trial period. Don't give McGraw-Hill any money. Don't give them your credit card number, none of that. Just give them your email. And for 2 weeks, they'll let you access the material. And I've set it up so you can go in there and access all the material for the class that I've set up and kind of, move around in there and see if you think it'll be helpful for you. If you do, then you make the decision in a couple of weeks to go ahead and purchase that material. If not, you don't have to buy it. And I have many of my students, and I'm going to talk about grading here in a minute. I'm not in the business of messing up people's GPAs. I'm not in the business of making sure I only give so many A's, so many B's, blah, blah, blah. I'm in the business of giving A's to people. I want to see everyone with an A in this class. Okay, so I want you to be able to be successful. And I have many, many students that are successful that never buy this book. I'm not here to sell books from McGraw-Hill. I'm here to help you to achieve your goals, to get your degree, to potentially get your CPA, pass the CPA exam, get your CPA. That's what I'm here for. I'm really much more of an advocate for you than I am an evaluator that's going to be here to, mess you up. Having said all that, take those exams on the day that's where I freak. That's where I lose it. I just don't have any patience for that. Know when the exams are due and do them when they're due, and we could be friends. Okay. Okay, good. Now, just taking a look at the, and you can read through some of this stuff on your own. I'm sure you've seen this kind of stuff before. The grading elements, the 3 exams, 100 points each. They're like 3 midterms, even though we call the last midterm the final. I will have a guest speaker write-up. Guest speaker write-up is worth 85 points, and I'm going to be recording a colleague who gives a presentation to my Stanford class. In addition to teaching at Golden Gate, I also teach at Stanford University. I teach Introductory to Accounting in the School of Medicine, and also Management Science and Engineering department there in the engineering department. And I have a guest speaker who comes in and talks about, and it's focused more towards entrepreneurial accounting, because the students in those class all want to, be the next contestant on Shark Tank and make a pitch about this great product that they've invented, whatever. And the university, Stanford, requires that they have some accounting background. And so I teach that class to them, and I have a guest speaker who comes and speaks to that class. And he, speaks from an entrepreneurial standpoint, but he has a real nice section in that presentation where he talks about startups, and he's taken a lot of companies public, and you'll hear him talk about that. where he's seen startups and what's happened when they haven't paid proper attention to accounting and some of the fraud things that they've seen and whatnot. And so I think it is he has seen, and so I think it is relevant to this course. And so yeah, it's he'll talk for about an hour and a half. You'll have to watch the recording. I'm going to be posting up a rubric, and there are certain questions in that rubric that I want you to answer. It's a 3-page double-spaced writing assignment that I do ask you to do in here, and it'll be due the last day of class. Okay, so it's not up there yet because hasn't spoken yet. He's going to speak. I think I have him scheduled for Friday, so I'll be recording that, posting it up, posting the recording up. Watch the recording, answer the rubric questions. Again, I'm not terribly, I'm going to say, well, he said this and you said that. As long as you do it and you do a decent job and you are responsive to the rubric, you get these entire set of points. I have to do this because the university wants a writing assignment in our classes. And so I think that's a fair writing assignment for you. Okay. Discussion points, you're earning those now. I put those points there just to make sure that people show up to this required meeting, although in this particular case, since I changed the date, some folks maybe couldn't make it, but I do expect you to be in that November, whatever it was, meeting. Question on the grading elements? Okay, good. Grading, most of my students live up here. Okay, if you don't take exams, that's where you start down here. You don't turn in the guest speaker. You just don't turn it in. You blow it off. That's how you end up down here. Okay, so there is really no reason for you to fall, below an A in this class, really. I mean, you got to almost have decided, that you're going to show me, he's not giving me an A, that's almost the way you have to kind of look at it to not get an A. Okay, you could see my bio. I worked for the federal government for 26 years. I was an auditor with the Government Accountability Office. You'll hear me mention some of those engagements during the lectures. I graduated from college and went immediately to work for the federal government, the Government Accountability Office. GAO is the auditing investigative arm of Congress. So they do a lot of different audits, but one set of audits that the GAO does is financial statement audits. So I was on various financial statement audits over the years, got my CPA experience through the GAO. And then towards the back end of my career, they started asking me to work on housing, looking at the Department of Housing and Urban Development. And that was okay for a long time. And then they got into asking me to look at some of the stimulus money that was being provided at that point in time and some of the different programs that have come. And I felt that the requirements of those audits were so steeped in minutia that I was going to lose my mind. It was, this is how fast the paint has not dried or has dried, and it was just, I was losing it. And so I had been teaching the CPA exam. At that point in time, I had been teaching the CPA exam for like 20 years because I was teaching while I was working. I was even teaching at Golden Gate a little bit while I was working. And so I decided, I'm going to go for a full teaching way of making my way through the world. So I retired from the GAO 10 years ago and just started teaching full time. And over that 10 years, now it's about 10 years, I've taught at Golden Gate, obviously, Stanford, I mentioned, also at San Francisco State, San Jose State, and UC Berkeley, and a few community colleges. So it turned out that the teaching thing actually had legs. And so I've been teaching full time for the last 10 years. I retired from the state teaching system this last year. So I went ahead and decided to retire from that. So I retired from the state, retired from the federal government, but I still teach at Stanford and at Golden Gate. Obviously, I'm teaching this class, but I also am the director of the applied CPA program. So at Golden Gate, We have 4 classes that line up with we had 4 classes that lined up with the 4 parts of the CPA exam. Now we have 3 classes that line up with the core parts of the CPA exam. So the core parts of the exam are audit, which is very, very similar to this class, financial accounting and reporting, and regulation. So those 3 parts we still have. 377, 379 is the reg. Both of those classes are running this fall. And then 380 is the auditing class that is similar to this one. We're going in the process of developing a business accounting and reporting section, which is one of the discipline section of the exam. And it's unclear at this point in time if we're also going to have a tax planning and compliance discipline class and a information system and controls discipline class here at Golden Gate. I think we probably will have that, but how often we're going to be offering that and whatnot is still somewhat in flux. So there are 4 parts to the exam. We have 3 classes that line up with the core, 1 class that lines up with one of the disciplines, and then we're probably developing 2 more classes to line up with the other 2 disciplines. So under this program, I'm proud to be, leading this program because you can get 12 units that allow you to complete your bachelor's. Those same 12 units, we prepare you for the CPA exam. We use the Becker prep material. We got a good price for Becker. You're not going to get Becker any cheaper than we can get it for you through this program. And then that preps you to pass the exam. You get the units to complete your bachelor's. You get units to continue to make you eligible to sit for the exam and ultimately your license. And then you can take those same 12 units and apply them towards your master's. So if you're, completing your bachelor's and plan to go on to your master's, those 12 units, then you'd only need if you need 30 units, you'd need, I got to do math in my head, right? What's that? 18 more units that you would need to complete your master's degree. So it's a nice program because it really helps you to kind of move your career along so that if somebody's, planning on getting a bachelor's, CPA, master's, you can kind of get it without ever leaving this program. And I think there's actually some efficiencies that go beyond what, say, Cal State would offer somebody. So that's what I've been up to over the years. There's our mandatory class meeting. You can see by week the chapters. You saw that and don't pay attention to the little week designation that's there. I don't know how to turn that off. eLearning has that, and that's annoying. So I can't get that to not be there. So, I've even tried it where I have something down, and then if I move it up, it changes the week on me, and I don't know how to take that off. So don't pay attention to the week designation on eLearning. The week designation is correct here on this on the syllabus. You see the week, the midterms, I've explained, they open, they close. Then we continue on midterm 2. That's interesting because we have a mandatory class meeting the same week the midterm's going on. So maybe that's good. We check in that week, and if you have questions that you think might be relevant to midterm 2, you can bring them to that. That might be a good use of our time that date. Okay. And then the final exam is that last week of class, but notice it only covers the chapters since midterm 2. Okay. And so it's not comprehensive. It's like a third midterm, but we call it the final. If you're sitting there and saying, well, John, why is chapter 7 way back there? What the hell's going on there? Well, chapter 7 deals with internal control reporting. And since we're not really dealing with audit reports until the end of the class, it made more sense to include that chapter at the end when we're talking about reporting requirements associated with an audit. And in particular, chapter 7 is the internal control reporting requirements associated with public companies under the Sarbanes-Oxley Act and under the purview of the Public Company Accounting Oversight Board requirements. So I pushed that reporting thing back to the end. I think it made more sense there. Okay, questions? Concerns? No? Okay,
Actually, I
guys.
do have a
Yeah.
actually I do have a question for you, Professor. So I saw that there's the forgive me, I'm forgetting the software that you could sign in and do questions. It's almost like homework, but it's not. They're almost like practice questions. There's 8 to 10 of them. Is that are those just practice for the midterm, or are those graded being added to our grade?
Ye-
I think it's
Though,
called like Connect or something like that.
yeah, in Connect, they're batting practice. Since you're a
Wonderful.
baseball fan, you might appreciate that analogy. So,
Thank you. Yeah.
yeah, they don't count towards the grade, but they could be helpful. So that's sort of the point, though, is for you to kind of mess around with them, and you're like, okay, yeah, I see that this is sharpening my understanding of the material. Then it's worth. I think they want you to get close to a couple $100 if they want you to cough up to be able to access that. So then maybe it's worth it. But like I was saying, I feel I feel annoyed if I have to require a book. And some universities, college require I have to make the students buy these textbooks, and the textbooks, kind of annoy me because they'll change two numbers, and it's a new edition, and they want a new, $300 out of somebody. And I find that annoying. So I don't require it, but but if in the past I've said no textbook, and then I always get, student comment, there was no textbook. I hated his class because there was no textbook. So there it is. If somebody wants a textbook, it is there. It can be helpful, but I figure we're all adults. We've all been around classes long enough now at this stage that you can make that decision on your own.
Wonderful. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay, guys, that's it. We're good. All righty. If there are other things, you know where I'm at, reach out. Otherwise, the next time we will reconvene will be on November 15th as a group.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Have a good rest
Thank
of the
you.
evening. Proceed with
You
caution.
too. Thanks.
Okay. Bye-bye.